another edition of Trial by Magus. Today we're going to be taking a look at an older exclusive premium aircraft to the game, the Dornier Do.17 Z-7 Kauz, or Screech Owl. This was given out early in the game's life as a result of a mission. I believe it's been available for sale in bundles a few times since then, but it cannot be acquired via normal means in-game. This is a rather interesting bird. It is classified as a heavy fighter, although the aircraft itself was most widely used as a Schnellbomber, or a light, fast bomber. It began its life as a high-speed mail passenger and courier aircraft, and was later repurposed into the bomber role, as many other aircraft in Germany's civilian air forces or airlines were in the lead up to World War II. Now, the Do-17 was an interesting aircraft. She was fairly reliable, sturdily built, but she had several vulnerabilities, among them being that the speed of the bomber could not be improved beyond what it already was, and as fighter aircraft technology improved over the course of the war, the Dornier could no longer rely upon her speed as her primary defense. Because although the aircraft does have defensive gunners, they have small machine guns only, 7.92mm, one mounted in the belly, one mounted firing over the back here in the dorsal position, and there was an additional gunner in the forward position here where the entire front of the plane used to be glass. Now, once it became obsolete as a fast bomber, many of them were converted into heavy fighters for night fighter duty, and to accomplish this, the bomb bay was shortened, the crew was also decreased from, I believe, 4 to 3, and the bombardier position was now occupied by 3 forward-firing machine guns and a single 20mm cannon. Now at Tier 3, the Dornier 17's primary competition is going to be the Focke-Wulf FW-57 Fat Wolf. So let's take a look at how the two of them compare, and we'll move on from there. Now, the FW-57 is also a favorite of mine at Tier 3 for the occasions that I go down there and grind out low-tier missions. Let's see how these two compare. Now, the Dornier has slightly more hit points, less firepower, more airspeed, more maneuverability, and lower altitude performance. So they are pretty evenly matched, but the Dornier edges out the FW-57 in several key areas that will allow the Dornier 17 to win aerial supremacy, that being a higher speed and a higher firepower, and a slightly higher maneuverability. If you can catch that enemy FW-57 before it drops its bombs, you will definitely just stomp all over it with the Dornier. Now, the FW-57 does have the advantage with altitude, so a smart FW-57 up against the Dornier on the enemy team will climb as high as possible, because starving the Dornier's motors is really the best way to handle it, and also force it into a head-on pass where the FW-57's greater firepower with those dual forward-firing 20mm cannons will come into play. Now, playing the Dornier itself, if you're experienced with German heavy fighters, or heavy fighters in general, the general playstyle is about the same. There's only a couple of things to keep in mind with her. Is that while her rear guns are not that powerful. They do have the widest firing arc of any of the low-tier aircraft. The top dorsal turret covers everything to the sides of the aircraft, behind it, and above. And the ventral turret does the same thing for the bottom of the aircraft. So, despite it being a very small bit of firepower that's coming out defensively there, it covers everything. And if you have a skilled gunner, which you should have available to put into a premium aircraft, that will make up for the weakness of those machine guns quite a bit. She will carry 4 SC-100 bombs, so that's a pretty good payload if you decide to go the fighter-bomber route with her. Not as powerful as the FW-57, but on the upside, it takes you much less time to drop those bombs and get back into the fight. For equipment to mount on this thing that's optional, I recommend reinforced airframe, improved covering, as always, and rear gun stabilization to increase that firing range even more, and that is complemented by a well-skilled gunner. For consumables, I recommend the usual loadout of all universal ammunition for greater increased fire start chance. Mount the bombs if you want to go after ground targets before you get into the aerial fight, but I must stress that this aircraft is best used purely air-to-air. Only equip the bombs if you are confident in your ability to drop them quickly and get back into the fight to start influencing the aerial battle so that your team can win. For the mounted consumables, I recommend an engine restarter, first aid package, and a manual fire extinguisher. No reason to spend a lot of money down here. You're down here flying a low-tier plane to make a little bit of money and complete your low-tier daily missions. Tactics-wise against this thing, if you're in a multi-role fighter, feel free to get behind her and give her all you got. The Dornier does not have a lot of hit points, and unless if the pilot is stocked up on improved covering and reinforced airframe, a multi-role fighter with cannons or heavy machine guns will do a lot of damage to this thing and cripple it in one pass. Maybe 2 if your aim is bad or the enemy pilot is good on the evasion. Now I have a battle for you in this thing, demonstrating the basics of heavy fighter work. There's not a lot special to it at low tiers because the fighters generally are stuck at low speeds at medium to low altitude, and they're easy targets once you get the high altitudes cleared off and you're able to dive down at high speed and pick them off at your leisure. Good hunting.